conclusion, it is time for Steve's gambling guide for Week 11. Steve, what are you watching this week?
Thank you, Jen. This is where I wish we had a camera on Marissa and she could get all embarrassed because Marissa and the research staff have told me this is the first time in the history of the ESPN database that Indiana is favored.
Yeah, there she is.
All right. They tell me this is the first time Indiana's been favored over Michigan in the history of the ESPN database, which is nuts. And on top of that, they're giving 14 points. But with Pete's news about Will Johnson being out, I really like the matchup for Indiana. They pride themselves on a quick, efficient passing game. The defensive line shouldn't be a problem for Indiana's offensive line. We're going to lay the points with the Hoosiers at home, giving 14 to the Wolverines. We touched on this game earlier. I talked about how much I love what Pat Shurmur has done as Colorado's offensive coordinator. A great plan every week. Shedeur, as comfortable as he's been in his career in Boulder. Texas Tech's pass defense is not a strength. Therefore, we will give the points with the Buffaloes at home, or on the road, in Lubbock. And then finally, another road favorite, which is tough to say because usually those aren't successful. But Georgia, this is the matchup, man. When you look at what it is, and Ole Miss, this trouble they've had against blocking opposing defenses, Georgia brings a whole different animal to the table. We saw what it looked like at Texas when they needed a win in a huge way. That defense stepped up. If you try the quick passing game, they tackle excellent. You want to try the deep passing game, they get you the quarterback. So I like Georgia in that matchup, and we'll lay the points there.
All right, let's continue with that game as we take a look at today's player to watch, brought to you by Today's Military. And Jackson Dart, guys, he's been on a heater lately. A program record 515 passing yards in the win over Arkansas. My goodness. He will look to keep it rolling this weekend when the Rebels face Georgia's 13th ranked scoring defense that you just referenced there. So, Pete, I'll start with you. Another potential SEC elimination game. Ole Miss needs to get a win here. What are the headlines that we should be watching for?
Well, I think the biggest headline is, will Ole Miss have enough players? Because if you look at their injury report with 26 different Rebels listed on it, you would think they might not do that. I think Lane Kiffin's trying to have a little fun with Kirby Smart and sent that injury report out just to see what his reaction would be in Athens and try to play some games over who might be playing and who might not be playing. The most important name of those 26 is Trey Harris, the wide receiver. He was obviously leading the nation in passing before he went down. He's been out for a couple weeks. He is listed as doubtful. He dressed last week, even though he did not warm up, which is not usual. And then in the second half, he was in sideline in street clothes. All indicators are that Trey Harris is actually doubtful. We will spend a lot of tonight and tomorrow trying to decipher which of those 26 gentlemen will and will not be playing for the Rebels tomorrow.
Ole Miss was fantastic last week without Trey at wide receiver. I mean, you showed the graphic with the numbers that Jackson Dart had, but that was against Arkansas. And this isn't Arkansas. This is Georgia. And that defense travels, as I just mentioned before. So the idea of Ole Miss, we just haven't seen them win these games when you're playing against top-ranked teams. Can they do it tomorrow? It's sure another opportunity. We'll see.
So Ole Miss went on this portal run, right? Lane's the portal king, and they have a home game against Georgia. Like, this is the collision of the experiment. Is it working? Is it not working? Their lines were the clear weaknesses last year when we were at that game in Athens. Can they hold up on both sides? It's both in the game and in the program. It's a fascinating snapshot in Oxford tomorrow.
And Steve, you touched on this a moment ago, but your biggest concern for this game is?
Ole Miss in these opportunities. 1 in 24 all time against top two teams. We just haven't seen it, which also gives me bias towards liking Georgia in the game. Like, Reese has said it a lot. If not when for Ole Miss, you pointed out what they've done in the portal. They've gone all in as a program, and the goal was the playoff, and now that's in jeopardy.
The case for Ole Miss optimism is a rattled Carson Beck. He has turtled in big games this year. 3 interceptions in 3 different games. Can Walter Nolan and the boys get some pressure on him and get him a little bit sideways again? He's shown some susceptibility to that.
That'll be a good game. And the good game here between Alabama and LSU is sure to pull eyeballs as well. These fans out here will certainly be paying attention to that one. Thanks for hanging out.